I'm so sick of Garrett Bowles.
Yeah. Aren't we
Whoa,
all?
my goodness. Well, some quick introductions, you guys. Chad Jensen, Zack Kelberman here, reacting to the first half of this Denver Broncos versus Chicago Bears game. Zach,
This
what's on your
huge
mind right
fest.
now?
I'm trying to stay awake, Chad. I mean, it's a pretty boring game, defensive struggle, kind of setting football back about 40 years today. Watching Garrett Bowles commit holding penalties on run calls. It's not the most disciplined, inspiring brand of football, but we kind of were expecting that. Maybe not to this extent, but it was going to be a slugfest.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I saw some negative comments about Fangio's scheme on Twitter from people hitting my mentions, and I mean if you can keep any offense to 2 field goals in a half, like you need your offense to carry some water, and that's what's frustrating about this is the Broncos offense. They've had some modest successes, but in key and crucial situations, they just don't execute, whether it's third down, they get down closer in field goal range. You
Yeah,
get
red
the ball
zone.
another 3-4 yards, you move the chains. Those crucial situations, it's just still taking time for them to gel. Meanwhile, it's one thing if it takes time for you to gel, but can you still, grind out some ugly W's while your offense is figuring out how to win? And that remains to be seen.
It's the same as the last Broncos team, as the 2017 outfit. I mean, the defense is playing strong, and the offense can't execute, can't get it going. They're still settling for 3 when they should get on the board with 7 points. That's how you beat playoff contenders like the Bears. Even though they're at home, even though they're facing Trubisky, who's not a great quarterback, you've got to convert touchdowns and not settle for field goals, or else you leave it to the last couple minutes of the game. And if you have penalties like this and sloppy play like this, if you chance it to the fourth quarter, I don't like the outcome. I don't like the odds of that. But to see these comments right now, Chad, it's just all Garrett Bowles they hate on the side of the screen. Freaking Garrett Bowles. Bowles, WTF. We drafted dude in the first round. I wanted Ryan Ramczyk. I mean, the Saints got a better tackle, in my opinion. I never really liked the Bowles pick. And Chad, I know you had your reservations as well.
I've actually been a defender of Garrett Bowles. He hails from my alma mater, but I'm at the point now where I'm ready to pull the plug. I think you can't. I mean, 3 holding calls in the first half alone, and let's face it, it came within about a 2.5-minute window. Every time the Broncos, made a positive play, boom, holding on Bowles, and at least 2 of them were on plays where it wasn't really even the point of attack. It wasn't his hold wasn't the determining factor on whether or not the Broncos succeeded on that play. And I think I get it. The Broncos are thin right now at tackle. You got Juwan James sidelined. Your number 1 backup swing guy is already playing. You just called up Jake Rogers from the practice squad. Do you really want to tempt the football fates? I understand the thinking that's happening right now, but ask yourselves this: could Jake Rogers be worse than Garrett Bowles? It's a real question.
I don't think a parking cone would be worse than Garrett Bowles at this point. I mean, it's just you can't get worse, and you have to make a move there. And this is something we've been berating Elway for on the pod for months, and even going back to last year, is not stocking the cupboard with quality backup linemen, not developing, not drafting correctly, and leaving yourself to having Garrett Bowles and Elijah Wilkinson as your tackles and having no depth, literally none, because Wilkinson was that depth, and you leave yourself thin. At this point, he is a bust. He will always be a bust. And this is what we were saying before the season even started. If they can get just average production, average quality out of Garrett Bowles, it will be a success. But they can't even get that. The guy is getting worse. He's not even saying the same or getting better. He is getting worse. And to me, when you have Dalton Reisner, a rookie, consoling your third-year potential franchise left tackle, that is not a good sign at all. Bowles' maturity issues keep popping up. He's just not cut out for the game. He's not cut out to be a starter, at least in Denver.
Tony E says Garrett Bowles and Isaac Adams. Shake my head, just effing terrible. I think we pretty well mined the situation there with Bowles, but Isaac Adams, his biggest thing today is his strength is press man. He's a press man corner. Eric Trickle did a good job of laying out that as long as his back is not to the quarterback, he's okay in coverage where he can swarm up to the ball, make a tackle. His other strength is supposed to be tackling. That's what his whatever modest reputation he has at this point in his brief NFL career. For Vic Fangio, tackling is non-negotiable. You guys saw in that third down play why it is non-negotiable. When you're in zone coverage, oftentimes you're allowing the plays to happen in front of you. The key is to swarm and close. And he let Adam Shaheen, jump out of a tackle, moves the chains, and it led to the Bears' first field goal of the day. So Isaac Yiadom, absolutely struggling early, but not as bad as the Raiders game.
No, but to me, it's also you can blame Yadam, you can blame Bryce Callahan for not getting healthy, but Fangio at times is getting outcoached too, because as soon as Yadam steps on the field, opposing teams are relentlessly gunning for him almost every single passing play. Fangio has to know that, and he has to put his players in a better chance to succeed and not have them on one-on-one situations. But on that particular play alone, on run support, you cannot whiff like that. I don't care about the size disadvantage. I don't care about anything. You make that tackle in Pop Warner, high school, college, you make that tackle in the NFL. He has to play better. And to this point, another high-round draft pick just not panning out.
D. Brown says, we need a sack, man. This is weird. That's right. The Broncos have now gone 6 full quarters without a quarterback takedown. And
raise your hand if you would have guessed that.
Exactly. But and here's the thing is, there's some scheme things. Vic Fangio's not a blitzer. He doesn't like to bring pressure. He expects his 4 or sometimes 5-man rush to get the job done. And you would think that with Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, that would be no problem. But they've been unable to do it. And here's where I say, at a certain point, like you can sit and point fingers at Fangio, but at a certain point, you have to look at the players and say, somebody make a play. Somebody beat their man. Somebody win a matchup and get home.
Right. And they're being, Von Miller, they're treating him well, the Bears. They're putting double team blocks on. They're taking him out of the equation. But at some point, a future Hall of Famer, and then you have a potential all-pro, perennial all-pro Bradley Chubb. Like you said, Chad, you got to win your one-on-ones. They get paid too, but you're the sack master. You've been talked up all offseason by Vic Fangio. You have the talent, and they're heading toward milk carton status right now. Put these guys on T-shirts. Where are they? I mean, they're highly paid and highly touted, and they're just not good enough right now.
I'm looking here through some of our other comments here. Of course, everybody, let's touch on this one because Bowles is still on the minds of everybody. Who can replace him? So if you missed it, the Broncos called up Jake Rogers off the practice squad and waived Corey Levin or Levin, however you say his last name. So Jake Rogers is active today. The Broncos do have an option there in terms of swapping a tackle for a tackle. Now, a little bit more creative option, Zach, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, would be to swing Dalton Reisner out to left tackle. He played his entire college career almost at right tackle, so he has experience with that the wide kick slide, and he was on the right side as a tackle. This time he'd be on the left, but that's your other option. What would your thoughts be on I mean, he played like one of the best left guards in the game last week.
Right, and
so you really want to fiddle with that.
That's my thing. I mean, he's so good at guard right now, and you have, McGovern still kind of struggling there. You have a lot of new moving parts with Leary still kind of getting into his rhythm. I would not disrupt a very high-performing rookie right now in Dalton Reisner to make up for your error in Garrett Bowles. You're pretty much down to using Wilkinson there or using Jake Rogers or I don't even know what, or making a move after the game for an outside player, maybe a Trent Williams trade in an unlikely scenario, but they don't have many options, and this is why they had to stock the cupboard better for years ago and not leave themselves this thin at this point.
What about this topic? Now, this isn't going to save the Broncos today, but should John Elway bite the bullet, move some mountains, and do whatever it takes to get Trent Williams out of Washington? Because Donald Penn has started these last 2 games for the Redskins at left tackle, while Williams holds out in he's there. Do you move mountains? Do you get that done?
It's so, he's in a 1 contract. I mean, he has a big contract. You're going to have to give up a 1st or 2nd round pick for him or a player. You just invested record-setting money at the time in Juwan James. You used a 1st round pick in Garrett Bowles. But can we talk about Mike Munchak for a second? This guy was supposed to be an offensive line guru, but what you're telling me is you have to spend $50 million on the right tackle, then trade for an all-pro for him to be successful. He was paid and brought in to develop these players, and they have not done that to this point. So I'm not going to put it all on Garrett Bowles, all on the players. If they get Trent Williams, who's to say that this consistency will continue, or this lack thereof?
Going back to the other side of the ball, the Fangio scheme, Josh Williams says we can't get any pressure. Maybe this scheme isn't best suited for this Broncos team, honestly. Now, this isn't a premise that I accept. I understand why you're throwing it out there. I think this is really just a matter still of the front 7 guys acclimating to the scheme. And Von Miller's used to having that extra second maybe from his corners playing press man coverage. And, you got to win earlier. I mean, if Khalil Mack can succeed in this coverage, or in this scheme, I should say, I would imagine that Von Miller should be able to.
Yeah, that's a little, panic button to say that the scheme is not good for them. It's only 2 weeks in, and it's on Vaughn to win his one-on-ones, but this is still a great defensive scheme, and Vic Fangio is a great defensive coach, and they will find a way to get these players more involved. It's just a bad problem right now because that secondary is still their lifeblood. They're missing Bryce Callahan. They're moving some players around. They're missing Todd Davis in the middle to occupy blockers to free up first and second down for Von Miller. They're missing Draymond Jones in the middle, who's still inactive. They're missing some beef there. So when all those things come together, if they do, then you will see Vaughn start to get on the stat sheet, and these questions won't be asked again.
Cohen Cresswell, do you think Drew Lock will get to play at all this year? Well,
I don't see it.
If the Broncos get to midseason and they're sub 500 and the playoffs look like it's a distant hope, absolutely there's a shot. But I think John Elway is going to try. In a perfect world, he's hoping the Broncos are competitive at midseason and he's going to redshirt Lock. But if it's looking like another failed season by the midway point, I don't think Elway will have any choice but to activate him.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with that. I think, though, they're really, truly all in on Joe Flacco, and barring an injury to Flacco, I mean, even he can go through a 5-game stretch where he throws interception after interception. It would take an injury, I would presume, to get Locke on the field, and that's assuming Locke is even healthy and that thumb injury can't be re-aggravated for the future.
All right, here's one from Air Traffic Control. Another no-name tight end having a career day versus the Broncos D. I don't know about a career day. Pump the brakes a little bit there, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the struggles. And here's the thing is one of the keys, and this was something Eric Trickle wrote about over the weekend about this game, for the Broncos to negate Leonard Floyd and Khalil Mack was the quick passing game. You would hope that the Broncos, and they did that early on their first drive, they moved down the field, got 3 points. They were doing the quick passing game. Meanwhile, the Bears, that's exactly what they've been doing, only they're utilizing the tight ends. And so far, Vic Fangio seems to be willing to give up that territory so long as he can protect, deeper passes.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is where they miss having a true, like a Devin Bush type player, or a true elite mad backer, dime backer to cover those tight ends. This is what Stuart Craven should have been. And for as long and until they get that type of player, they're going to give up those receptions to the tight end. There's a difference, though, like you hit on, Shaq, difference between giving up yards and letting tight ends kill you. As long as they keep things in front of them, it won't be that big of a deal.
All right, here's one from Ray the Unworthy. Can we throw the ball vertically to Fant? What's with these tight end jet sweeps and screen passes? He's a vertical threat. Agreed. I mean, he's got 4.5 speed. I think they're still trying to figure out, Scangarello, how best to use him. Right. But clearly the ideas they've had thus far have not panned out. I mean, you need to get him down the field, let him utilize the underneath, let him utilize the seam, and start pushing the ball. Joe Flacco had a nice 20-yard pass to him down the left seam against Oakland last week, and that was really the only big positive play from Fant's day. On this day, he's been held into block. He allowed a sack to Khalil Mack when Scangarello misguidedly allowed him to go one-on-one against a Defensive Player of the Year winner, and that's what's going to happen. But I agree, Ray. They need to figure out a better way to get Fant involved. And in this game, they need to try and figure out a way to get Sutton a little bit more involved. Whereas last week, they waited too long to get Sanders involved. Sutton was the beneficiary. This time it seems to be Sanders, and Sutton and Fant are kind of the forgotten guys.
Yeah, Chad, you took the words from my brain, man. Like, I think they're trying to emphasize Sanders more and kind of force the game flow to him and getting him involved. Last week it was Sutton. This is still an offense. It's going to take time. We've been saying it almost every single week. They're not going to come together in week 2. Might not even be week 8 or week 10. It's going to take some time. But Fant, one thing they cannot do at all, like Chad said, is have him one-on-one with Khalil freaking Mack. I don't want him one-on-one. I don't want Garrett Bowles one-on-one. You got to have better blocking schemes and preparation than that.
Klaus says, our tackling looks so bad, even on rundowns, where we should stop them for a short gain. All the players break tackles, make it a 5-yard gain. Yeah, I mean, it was okay in the first quarter, and then the Bears started opening things up, and that rushing defense just has not looked good. I mean, they're bending, they're not breaking. This is the type of game where if you had a competent offense, you're cruising right now. But this is still an offense, unfortunately, that is being held back by its lackluster tackle play and an overall team or unit that's still learning to jive with the new play caller, new scheme. The problem is that whole thing is going to take time. And, the Broncos don't really have time. These games count, which is why I think they were a little bit in error sitting everyone. I get it. It was 5 preseason games in August. But I think this offense, because of all the turnover, because of all the new faces at the coaching and playing level, they should have given them more opportunities to play and just roll the dice on the injury bug. Just because they needed to these games count, Zach. These games, they're under the gun. They don't have time to, take half a season for them to get all on the same page.
Right. Yeah, you can definitely, call into question whether they handled the playing time in the preseason. About the tackling, it's not ideal, but I will say that Kareem Jackson, again, looks magnificent at safety. He's playing really well in the box, playing well in pass coverage. Justin Simmons looks good. Chris Harris Jr. looks good. So there has been an incremental improvement from what you saw last week. Tackling has to be better, but for at least from those players, we know we can count on them.
Well, hey, guys, we're going to sign off for now. We got the second half coming. And then afterward this evening, keep checking make sure you're subscribing, A. B, make sure you hit that notification bell. I'm sure most of you have done that, but we're going to be coming to you again live this evening after the game. We'll have the Gut Reaction podcast waiting for you, of course, first thing Monday morning, but stay tuned. We'll be back in the meantime. Follow Zach on Twitter at Kelberman NFL, myself at Chad and Jensen. And then I put in the description of this video our game link for the open thread right now. If you guys want to funnel over there and join us talking about this game in the second half, the conversation continues at milehighhuddle.com. And then, of course, keep it with Mile High Huddle for all the post-game analysis. We'll talk to you guys soon. We'll see if the Broncos can turn the ship around. And this is still a competitive game, but let's see if the offense can get things cooking. Zach, talk to you after the game, brother.
All right, see you then, man. Later, guys.